Hello everyone, and welcome back to the final session on the 4-day teaching on the Noble Mahayana Sutra, the Rice Sutra in English, and Śhālistamba Sūtra in Sanskrit, and Salujangbedo in Tibetan. This teaching is in collaboration with Kalachakra Center, Paris and Cosme and Vénérable, the Center Gendin Juba, Yishinobu, and Tobema non-profit. So before we start the last session, I would like to request, as I mentioned earlier, that those who are a French listener, so you can turn on the interpretation on French, and those who are English listener, you can turn on the interpretation on English. And you can also able to hear the question answer session. Yeah, thank you. And we will have the question answer session at the end of the class. Thank you. And now I would like to request Ms. Jainla to kindly lead the preliminary prayer. Thank you. I'll be screen sharing along with it.
Okay, all good? You can hear? Okay. First, taking refuge in generating bodhicitta. Sangye chodang sangye chognama jangju bardu dagni kapsuchi dagi jinsogi pe sonam ki jola penjer sangye drupar shok. Sangye chodang sangye chodnama jangju bardu dagni kapsuchi dagi jinsogi pe sonam ki jola penjer sangye drupar shok. Sangye chodang sangye chodnama jangju bardu dagni kapsuchi dagi jinsogi pe sonam ki drola penjer sangye dropar shog. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha by my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha by my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha by my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings.
Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashamanaye svaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye svaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum tesham tathagato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam vati mahashramanaye svaha. Deyathāvam gati gati paragati parasamgati bodhi swaha Tyatha Om Gati Gati Paragati Barasamgati Bodhi Swaha Tyatha Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati 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 Bodhi Swaha.
Thank you, Ms. Jainji. Now I would like to request Geshe to proceed the session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jane La, and thank you, Tensum La, and Kongwala Tensaravian La. Okay, screen sharing. La. Room there. Okay. So before we continue, let me share with you, say, a little bit of the summary and the application of the understanding of dependent origination. First, what we learned earlier is that dependent origination, we see that the manner in which we see things. In the first place, we see that things exist. Things exist. The things do exist. And we talk about the two levels of ignorance, two levels of the wisdom, two levels of wisdom and two levels of ignorance. And to understand dependent origination, we need to begin with two questions. One is, do things exist? And number two is, do things exist objectively? These are two questions. And any time with your studies, reflection, meditation, some people through studies, they can come into question that if things don't exist objectively, while you talk about objectivity, they will say that then what migrates to the next life? And then what is all this world that we're experiencing? So for this, the first question, do things exist? Answer should be yes, things exist. And we are never to say that things don't exist, things are all empty. If you...
At the end, they just thought it was right, because I just wasn't agreeing with the whole points. But I knew it wasn't right.
Okay. And that do things exist? If the answer is the no, things don't exist, one falls into nihilism. And this is not emptiness. So the answer should be yes, things do exist. Only when you say things do exist, then you are entitled to go for the second question, which is, do things exist objectively? And if the answer is yes, you fall into absolutism, the extreme of absolutism. So the answer should be that yes, while things do exist, they don't exist objectively. Then by saying things do exist, you are free from the extreme of nihilism. When you say that things don't exist objectively, you are freed from the extreme of absolutism. So freeing yourself from the two extremes is following the middle way. Only when you follow the middle way, there's a possibility for you to understand emptiness. Where you fall into any of these two extremes, you don't get the middle way. If you don't get the middle way, you don't get dependent origination. If you don't get dependent origination, you are distanced from getting emptiness. So and some people, while we are aware of these two questions, do things exist? Do things exist objectively? While we are aware of these two questions, still people, some of them are doing their, say, the process of studies. Some when they are reflecting, some when they are meditating. People, depending on the past, the proclivities, these questions, natural, intuitive questions, come to you. If things don't exist objectively, where the Buddha, as the Buddha taught, as Nagarjuna explained further, and as Acharya Chandrakriti explained, then what are all these things? Then how do you account for rebirth? How do you account for good giving rise to the virtues giving rise to happiness, and non-virtues giving rise to suffering? How do we account for these? So these are the questions that are bound to come, even if you are aware of these two questions, because it is something more intuitive. We are trying to challenge our instinctive thoughts, what Charles Darwin would call as instinct, which naturally arises within us, the belief in things as object real. So because of this, these questions are bound to happen to us at various stages. If they do happen, always remember, go back to these two questions whenever necessary. This is so important. So with this in mind, later on, I would suggest that all of us to study Acharya Nagarjuna's text, Mula Madhyama Karika, the foundation for the fundamental wisdom of the middle way, the fundamental wisdom of the middle way. In Tibetan, Sawashera. I highly suggest people to study that. And in fact, this book, The Blaze of Non-Dual Bodhisattvas, many of you already have this, either soft copies or the hard copies. And of course, you will not get this from Amazon. This is all, you can get it for free download, but it's not available from Amazon. And this is extremely precious book. And in this, we've included many of the sutras, many of the Indian masters' commentaries, and many of the short texts, which on the basis of which His Holiness the Dalai Lama gave teachings for the last 15, 20 years. So this is a book, and that in this book, we have included the 5 chapters, 5 selected chapters, on the basis of which His Holiness gives teachings. from Aranagarjuna's text. So the here on section 20, serial number 24. Under this, we see that they are the okay. We have 6 here. In fact, I added chapter 25 also because the chapter 25 examination of Nirvana is one chapter which is picked up as a part of the syllabus of some of the university the programs. So when I teach them, I also make sure that this is included there. So there are total 6 chapters here, and His Holiness would oftentimes gives teaching on the 5. And the studying these, we see that we'll get a very good picture of emptiness. But again, as the reminder, warning that Aranagarjuna's texts, if you study them directly, you may find it quite challenging. And as a stepping stone to get to Aranagarjuna's text, it would be good if we study Acharya Chandrakirti's text, entry into the middle way, Madhyamaka Avatar, entry in the middle way in Tibetan, Umala Jukpa. That would be good to study that. And yes, as a part of Narayan Master's course, Tibet House, this text by Acharya Chandrakirti, it takes us like the little over 1 year. In the monastery universities, they study minimum for like 3 years. In the big monastery universities, they study so thoroughly with the root text memorized, then the studies, debates, discussions. And Tibet House, we spend less number of hours on this. Yes, the people, we can't expect people to, the course that we developed is primarily for the people who are busy with the household chores, their works, and so just to accommodate them, to give the possibility for people to study the Dhamma more in depth, we create this syllabus, this course, and because of which, of course, we can't expect that to be as intense, in depth, and as vast as how that is learned in the monastery universities. But we do that. If somebody is very serious, we cover it very seriously within a span of like 1 year. Okay. And so finally, the study of emptiness. For this, as I said earlier, always remember these 2 questions. 2 things exist. If the answer is no, everything is empty, this is nihilism. This is not emptiness, extreme of nihilism. And only if you say that, yes, things exist, everything exists. Good things exist, bad things exist, and by virtues, happiness follows. By non-virtues, miseries follow. And by self-grasping ignorance, samsara is created. By the wisdom of emptiness, you are liberated from the prison of samsara. All these, the efficacy of the cause and effect is existent. This is undeniable, the reality of the conventions. This is existent. Only when you say, yes, things do exist, then you're entitled to go for the second question, do things exist objectively? I'm repeating this. This is very important. And if you say, yes, things exist objectively, you fall into absolutism, extreme absolutism, and knowing that the emptiness should be understood in the context of dependent origination. And dependent origination is to be understood in the context of the middle way. Say, if you fall into extreme, there's no way by which you get to the middle way. If you don't get to the middle way, you don't get to dependent origination. If you don't get to dependent origination, you are far away, or you become very remote from the understanding emptiness. So therefore, it's so important to understand this. Now, in this connection, if you study Aranagarjuna's text, we see that that Aranagarjuna in this Jumla on the Blaze of Non-Bodhisattvas, page 120, the book, not the book, page 120. In Aranagarjuna's text, first go to screen sharing. Okay, in Aranagarjuna's text, you see that, particularly chapter 24, you see the debates between the 2 schools. Oh yeah, stanza 7. debates between the two schools, meaning the Madhyamaka or the middle way school on the one hand, and all the Buddhist schools or all others who do not, they say, who do not understand emptiness, or who reject emptiness of objective existence, all in one camp. And the Prasangika, or the advocates of the emptiness of objective existence, on the other camp. You see that there's a debate there. Go to verse 1 of this, the same verse 1. Okay, so look at this debate. Verse 1. Don't think that this is a debate happening outside. Yes, it is a debate. It was a debate happening that happened outside, but keep in mind that all these teachings which the Buddha taught, the Tongba Shiva Kewa Mebesu Mishepeni to our Kamgirba. There are two things away Tapsuki Riba Yadagin Zuberse, which means that Tongba Shiva Kewa Mebesu, failing to see the emptiness, the peace. Tongba Shiva Kewa Mebesu, failing to see the emptiness, the peace, and the unborn nature. The sentient beings wander in samsara. The compassionate one, seeing this out of the compassionate ones out of seeing this, through numerous reasons, establish this emptiness. This is what the Buddha taught. Meaning that this emptiness concept is not about the debate, it's about your own freedom. Where the Buddha taught that failing to see this emptiness, you are trapped in samsara. You wander in samsara with so much having to shed tears every life. Every time you take birth, we have to shed tears, so much for anger, sadness, and the loss of the near and dear ones. And we thrive at one point, and then we degenerate at the times. And then where everything becomes so hollow, shallow. And in fact, I received the small composition composed by most likely somebody who is atheist, who doesn't have any idea about Buddhism. And what he wrote is a real life experience. It was so moving. What is that my home place, or my home. Say when the family members are there, the house becomes a home. When the family members leave, the home becomes house. You understand the meaning? The meaning is so profound. So initially, when the couples meet, they build houses, not houses, big houses. And then the children, they grow, and then they leave. Then a big house, and the two parents becoming old, they cannot take care of, carry to this house, so they sell. So look, this is life. And what he explained it so beautifully. He said that the house with the family members intact, and that too harmonious, say the friendly family members not fighting, then the house becomes a home. When family members leave one by one, die, the home becomes a house. And he said earlier, I don't want to even sell this house. Now I even don't want to see this house. Do you understand what it means? That at one point where everybody's there with so much love, affection, so forth, is a house. This everything for us. If you sell it, you are selling your own life. So I don't want to sell it. Now, some people die, some people leave, you become lonely. And then they say that even you also leave. And then you see that when you go there, all these past memories becoming reminiscent of the past, so painful to feel that, and then you even don't want to go there. Is what he said. And Geshe Milarepa said it so rightly. Geshe Milarepa. I'm sure many of you already know the Geshe Milarepa. He was the one great practitioner who is taken by all the great enlightened beings in Tibet, and that he's the one who attained enlightenment within a single lifetime. And we must read his biography. His the early part of his biography of the early part of his life, and the later part of his life when he became enlightened, with all these teachings that he gave. It'd be so important for us to read his biography. It'd be very helpful for our own growth. What he said was that the first part of his life, he was born in an ultra-rich family. Then at the age of 7, he lost his father. Then the whole family declined, not because of anything else, because that he was too small, and his sister was younger than him, and the mother, although very competent, but the father, for the security purpose, the father handed over the whole family to his brother and his sister to take care of the family. And it just turned around, the table turned around, where instead of taking care of, they're being abused badly by the father's brother and the sister. And then they just experienced hell in the living earth. And then finally, this young boy was sent by the mother out of desperation to learn black magic to destroy the uncle and the aunt. And finally, they were still in this big house which his father created. And then finally, say the last part of the story, that finally he followed the spiritual path. Then he met with his teacher, followed spiritual path, and then finally came to visit the family. Visit the family meaning, yes, the native place. And the mother already died, and the sister already was wandering around as a beggar. And then he could, from distance, you could see his house there. But he was not there for the last so many years. And there was a young little boy who was a shepherd. And he asked the shepherd, what is this house? Of course, he knew that it is his own house. And he asked the shepherd, what is this house? And the shepherd boy said that nobody lives there. Nobody lives there. The mother died. The father died. The mother died. Once it was such a flourishing, thriving family. Now nobody lived there. The son became a black magician. He left, and the daughter became the wanderer, the begging here and there. Nobody lives there, and now it is a haunted house. Look, this impermanence. And then this shepherd boy told Geshe Milarepa, who was actually the son, that, but you are yogi. If you can go there, nobody dares to go there, because that people know that this is a haunted place. And the son, he is so the expert in black magic. Everybody's scared of that. Nobody dare to go there. And you are a yogi. If you want to go there, you can go there, and you will see that inside there's the scripture. You can take it if you can go there. So Geshe Milarepa, without any fear, he went there, knowing that it is his own house. He went there, and then he could see the skeleton, a skeleton there. What skeleton? Whose skeleton? The mother's body. Then Geshe Milarepa said that when the mother was here, the son is away. When the son came, the mother is gone. Even if the mother and the son were to be together, there's no purpose. Better it is for the son. Better it is for me to go into the spiritual journey. Then he said, when the house is here, when the house is intact, the thriving, the owner has left. When the owner comes, the house is all in a bad shape, debilitated state. Even if the house and the owner were to be together, there's no purpose and meaning in life. Better it is for me to live for spiritual journey. When the sister was here, the brother left. When the brother came, the sister left. Even if the brother and sister were to meet, there's no purpose. Better it is for me to live for the spiritual journey. So this is about the impermanence. This is a reality. So the point is that with this realization, it is important for us to think about these realities, and what is life, what is samsara. We see that it's full of pain, and each one of us, say, when we first meet, or we are going to have the meeting, for example, like say Nalanda masters, Nalanda the study students, we are going to have audience with the students. Everybody comes in the nice dress, and very clean, tidy. And then when we meet, we all most of us, we know each other, even though we never met before. It's also like we already met before. I met you somewhere. Actually, we saw each other on the camera on the screen. We met, and there's so much joy there. When we sit together over a meal, and then we'll start talking, then initially nice words will come, and gradually the sad stories will come. And meeting for the second day, third day, fourth day, everybody has a sad story to share. And many told me directly that it has been so late that I came in contact with this brilliant teaching of the Buddha. What does it mean by that? Why they feel this so late? Because they could feel the preciousness of this teaching of the Buddha. Why they feel the preciousness of this teaching? They see this as a medicine. What's the medicine? Medicine to heal the illness. What illness? We have the illness. So it's very important. And then this illness, what we are seeing is so tiny. The real illness, which we can't even imagine at the moment. For example, say many of the horrible things happening around the world due to natural disasters, the man-made problems. For example, in many of the places where the domestic violence is happening, it's unthinkable. It's totally inhumane. Not only domestic violence, even around the tribal riots are happening amongst the tribes. People are killing each other. Total inhuman treatment is happening, going around. It's extremely sad. And just imagine this happening there. What if you are there? If you are the victim, what's going to be experienced? You'll be traumatized. So we have to think like this. So what happened was that there is one anecdote that Shariputra and Mugrayana, two of them, because that both of them had the miracle power. With this miracle power, they went to the hell realm, and the hell realm was so acute. The heat, hot hell, was so acutely hot that they want to tell the world that what we feel as the heat in the world, planet Earth, is just nothing. So the kind of the pain that we go through at the moment, this is nothing as in comparison with the real miseries of the world. So Shariputra decided to bring one spark of the hell realm to the planet Earth. He decided to bring that spark to tell the world that this is the real heat. And then bringing the spark, the legend has it that bring the spark, coming closer, the vegetation of the world, they started to dry. He could not bring it. So the point is that we don't really think about, we don't really have to believe in these stories. Just look at the trauma that people go through around. Just look at these. That's good enough. And many of us we have our own stories. Just one moment of separation, the separation, your separation from your near and dear ones is extremely painful And we see that all what we see as the merriments, birthday parties, celebrations, festivities, this are all just so shallow, hollow, gloomy, meaningless in the face of one moment of tragedy. This is samsara. And so therefore, once we see this, then the question arises, is there a way out? Is there a way out? So the answer is yes, there is a way out. Because there's nobody who dictates, like the prison guard who dictates that you have to stay in prison. No. There's nobody there, the agent which dictates you to be in samsara. It is our own creation through dependent origination. The ignorance giving rise to the formation, giving rise to the consciousness, giving rise to the name and form, and so forth, and then aging at that. Again, ignorance. So the wheel continues. So therefore, if you really want to bring a stop to these pains, the constant, look at for example, even in the National Geographic, screenings, we see that, look at the wilderness, how the animals, well, sometimes, we're being giving up the very, illusory picture of a lion taking care of a baby deer, this happens 1 out of 1 million. How many baby deers have been carried away and eaten by the lions, leopards, and the tigers? And how many times we have been the baby deers? And the mother had to just keep looking from distance. Look, the pain the mother feels towards the baby, and the pain the baby feels to the loss of the mother and losing your own life. This is how vicious samsara is. So the point is that that would be wonderful if we can think about these reality. For example, in the wilderness, and some of us may think that, oh, the lions, but what about the lions? They are like the king of the forest. Yes, even the lions, they will not be spared. Even if you are the strongest in this particular forest, you become old. When you're old, you'll be eaten up by, again, some other creatures. You cannot walk. You'll be again eaten by somebody else. In other words, in the wilderness, no one is spared. And how can we say that we will not take birth in the wilderness? No guarantee. As long as the ignorance is there, volition is there, formation is there. So with this, the aging, death, and all these process is going to be perpetuating. So likewise in the ocean, how many trillions of creatures are there? Just look at the National Geographic. How many trillions of creatures there? One eating the other, bigger one eating the smaller one in groups, they eat the bigger one. And how many times we have taken birth there? So if we think very seriously with these things, then how to get away from this? Is there a way out? So the point is that, yes, there is a way out. Pray to the Buddha. This is more on the blind faith. This is more on the blind. Do some pujas, make prestation, recite mantra. This is more on the blind faith. First, the thing is that the wise approach is that we have to say rationally, we have to understand that there's a way out. Logically, we have to understand there's a way out. And this way out is what the Buddha taught in the Śhālistamba Sūtra, the Rice Sutra Sutra, the Sutra on dependent origination, which we have studied. So this is how we know. With this, then you see that with the two questions, there are two questions. Then with these two questions, Nagarjuna, what Nagarjuna taught in terms of how to get rid of this ultimate ignorance, which is responsible for all these, having to shed tears, endlessly many. So endlessly. How to stop this? By stopping the weakest point, which is weakest or which can actually be exterminated from the root. When we remove the problems, there are two ways to remove the problems. Let's not forget it. There are two ways to remove the problems. One is For example, let's say that usually, jokingly, I share this, that say that we all here in Tibet House, and suddenly we get a message from the office of His Holiness that, oh, His Holiness is coming to bless all of you. We are so happy. Oh, then we plan to make things a little tidier, cleaner. And we get a message saying that His Holiness is already there in the lobby of Tibet's building. Now we have no time, right? All the shoes lying there next to the teaching hall. What should we do, right? We have to remove them. So how to remove? We don't have time to remove them. So this is Dumala, our program coordinator. She will be smart to cover all these dirty shoes with a nice piece of cloth and put some flowers on it, right? So it doesn't look bad. So it looks, they clean and with the flowers there, decorative. So this is one way of removing the problems, but this is not the real solution. This is just a symptomatic solution. The real problem still is there. Now the real solution is actually remove these shoes and put in some other place, and the place where His Holiness, from which His Holiness is coming, we clean this up well, no shoes there, and then we clean it, tidy this up. So well, this is a real solution. So solution to the problems are twofold. One is suppressing the problem, and the other one is uprooting the problem. There are two. And 12, somehow the problems are related to the 12 links. 12 links, which the Buddha taught in great detail in this sutra, 12 links, and say that some people, they resort to, for example, the Acharya Dharmakirti. In his text, Pramanavartika, he identified the attachment as the root of all the problems. Let's not forget it, attachment. And yes, we see that ignorance is the root of all problems, and Acharya Dharmakirti identified attachment as the root of the problem. So in what way these two differ? There's a difference there. One is attachment, which is so obvious. Even the ordinary people can identify that attachment is the root of the problem. Attachment creates anger. Attachment creates jealousy. And then jealousy creates all these the conflicts, visible conflicts in the world. Whereas, where is this attachment coming from? Where is this jealousy coming from? Anger coming from the attachment. Attachment coming from where? From the feelings. Where are these contaminated feelings coming from? From the inappropriate tension. And where are they coming from? You track it back, you see the ignorance. So just trying to say the curb, not reacting to the feelings. So that is like a symptomatic treatment. Say the pleasant feelings, don't react, don't feel glued to it. Unpleasant feelings, don't react, don't feel averse to it. This is a symptomatic treatment. So the next is, this is a great practice. Great practice. This will help us to go to the root easier. That is so precious practice. But ultimately, we have to go to the root. The Buddha said, when the ignorance stops, the formation stops. When the formation stops, the consciousness stops. So finally, we have to tackle the root. So to tackle the root, as how I began this was by saying that Aranigarjuna in the text, which the screen sharing, we see that there is a debate going between the two camps. Aranigarjuna's side, on the one hand, advocates of emptiness of objective existence, and the other side, the advocates of objective existence. So one advocates the emptiness of objective existence, and the other, the advocates of the objective existence. There are these debates happening. Screen sharing. So here, the opponents of Aranigarjuna began by the position of the opponents of the Aranigarjuna, saying that if all of this is empty, meaning that if nothing really exists objectively, if this is the case, neither would arising nor ceasing exist, then you cannot posit what arises and what ceases. For example, 2023 arose and 2022 ceased. And the old age arose and the youth ceases. And the sprout arises and the seed ceases. So arising, ceasing, you cannot pass it. Then for you, it follows that Four Noble Truths would not exist. So this is the position of the opponent, saying that if things don't exist objectively, then you are denying the basic principle of the Four Noble Truths. So Nagarjuna, so we see that then Nagarjuna counteracted this position in the next let's say verse number 7. Okay, same. Nagarjuna responded by saying that we say that this understanding of yours, how you read our presentation of emptiness, this is we say that this understanding of yours of emptiness is wrong. Number one, you cannot really understand what we are saying. Number one. Number two, the purpose of understanding emptiness, you do not understand it. Number two. Then number three, the meaning of emptiness, how you interpret the meaning of emptiness is incorrect. So Nagarjuna identified three, the contradictions or three problems within the opponent's mind. Thus you perceive contradiction in us. So you see contradiction in us not because of the valid reasons, because of your failure to see what emptiness is, what's the meaning of what the purpose of emptiness, and what's the meaning of emptiness. Failing to see these three things, you mistakenly see mistakes in us. Actually, it's your problem, it's not our problem. Okay, so we see that there's a debate here, and in actuality, it's not the actual. We can say that it is a debate which actually happened in India, but for us, it should be seen as a debate between the chronic disease grounded on ignorance, and now what we are learning of emptiness, the wisdom of Nagarjuna, cultivating the new wisdom. Debate between the wisdom that we're cultivating now and the chronic disease of the self-grasping ignorance from the past many lifetimes. We see the clash between the two. There's a debate between these two happening. And because of which, when there's a clash, of course, it's not peaceful. So when we first experience emptiness, it is said that you have a tinge of a fear. So fear is like the sound of a clap. There's a friction happening. When the two forces come together in the opposite direction, then there's a friction happening. So this friction happens in the mind. So where the earlier belief system, the chronic earlier the belief that things exist objectively, and then now we are learning from the Buddha Shakyamuni, Nagarjuna, Chandragati, that nothing really exists objectively. So we are cultivating a new trend of thinking. So a new trend of thinking and the old trend of thinking, these two clash because these two, they say what they think. These two are mutually exclusive with respect to the object of apprehension. So these two are totally contradictory in terms of what they apprehend. And because of which there's a clash happening. So this clash manifests in the form of, say, the tinge of a fear within us. Okay, so I don't want to go too deep into this. I say here, it says that the meaning of emptiness is incorrect. And the emptiness and the purpose of emptiness is incorrect. Meaning that the emptiness, if you understand it, what's the purpose? The purpose is that your fear dissolves, all your fear dissolves. Let me give an example. Let's say that, by the way, just raise your hands, those who had at least once in a lifetime, they say nightmare in your sleep. Raise hands, at least once. Okay, we all had. I had many stories of nightmares. And they say that you wake up. Say that, okay, nightmare, let's say that a ghost is chasing you or a tiger is chasing you and you are running. So in the dream, in the sleep, in the dream, you are running for your life, being chased by the ghost or a tiger. And then you fall, oftentimes you fall. and you find it so difficult to get up. This is, as a common experience for all of us, so difficult to get up, and the ghost doesn't stop, the tiger doesn't stop, continues to come to run, chase you, and then the ghost or the tiger is almost there to get hold of you, and you think that now I'm dead. When you say that I'm dead, imagine that your mother wakes you up. What happens? Instantly your fear dissolves. Okay, it is the same person in the dream and out of the dream. It's the same person. Why did you have this fear in the dream? It's just a dream. Okay, anyone? Why did you have this? Why did you have fear in the dream? Raise hands, anyone? Okay, here we have offline, sorry. Offline, Kamazumala, the mic. Okay, otherwise you say, because it will take time for him to. So, what Kamazumala is saying is that in the dream, we see the dream ghost or the tiger as real. How many agree with Kamazumala? Raise hands. Very good. We see that as real, as objectively real. And then the next question to the online participants. When you wake up, it's the same person. How come that your fear dissolves when you wake up? It's the same person in the dream and outside dream is the same person. How is it that the fear dissolves? Raise hands. Anyone? Quick. Anyone? Okay, Jainla.
Because you realize when you wake up, it was just a dream.
When you wake up, you come to realize it's just a dream, it's not real, right? In technical sense, do you agree with me? In technical sense, what Kamazumala said, that in the dream we see it as real means that we see it as objectively real. When you wake up, what Jaina said is that we come to realize that it was just subjectively posited, not objectively real. As opposed to objective existence, it was subjectively posited. So this is a technical way of putting it. How many agree with me, sense? Good. Now this is extremely important point. When you in the dream, when you see things as objectively real, what is the outcome? Okay, first of all, seeing the dream as real, is that ignorance or wisdom? Quick, someone? Okay, Achikibala.
Ignorance.
That is ignorance. Look, let's not forget it. And what's the outcome of this ignorance? The fear. How many agree with me, sense? Good. Now you wake up, as Jainla said, that you come to discover the reality that the dream ghost, the dream target, it was just subjectively posited. So that is ignorance or the wisdom. It's the wisdom. And what is the outcome? The fear dissolves. Okay, this is so important. With the ignorance, the fear arises. With the wisdom, the fear dissolves. So on the basis of this, the example, we need to learn how to apply this in a real life. A real life of seeing things objectively real and seeing things as subjectively real. Okay. So with this, the point is that the whole purpose of seeing things as say empty of objective real emptiness. So Arya Nagarjuna is discussing, you fail to understand the purpose of understanding emptiness. What's the purpose of understanding emptiness? From the example that I've given you here, the purpose of understanding emptiness is to dissolve your fears of samsara, right? Whereas if you understand emptiness, just nothingness, there's nothing there. This will not dissolve your fears. So therefore, while the whole purpose for us establishing emptiness is to dissolve the fears of samsara, your reading of our understanding is just nihilism. with nihilism will never take you to dissolve your fears. So you fail to understand the purpose of understanding emptiness, number one. Number two, you fail to understand the meaning of emptiness. What's the meaning of emptiness? You said that the meaning of emptiness means nothing's there. But this is not our meaning of that emptiness. Emptiness, okay, this is very important. What is the meaning of emptiness? Emptiness, the meaning of emptiness is dependent origination. Emptiness means dependent origination. Dependent origination means the middle way. Okay, we will go to page number 122, verse number 18. Ramela. Okay, so what is the meaning of emptiness? So this is explained here in the verse number 18, chapter 24, I think, chapter 24. So here, the meaning of emptiness is not nothingness, it's not nihilism. Meaning of emptiness is dependent origination. So Arya Nagarjuna said, whatever is dependent in reason, that is explained to be emptiness. And what is dependent in arising, that being dependently designated is itself the middle way. So emptiness doesn't mean nothingness, it is the meaning of dependent origination. And dependent origination is the meaning of the middle way. Therefore, emptiness is not nihilism, it is the middle way. This is how we have to understand the meaning of emptiness. Okay. So I'm going to explain a little bit more on this part, the how emptiness equals dependent origination and how dependent origination equals the middle way. Therefore, emptiness is the meaning of the middle way, not the meaning of nihilism. Okay, for this, say, I tell you that A equals B and B equals C. And your job is to tell me that therefore A equals C. So the first, how is A equals B? That emptiness equals dependent origination. How do we know that? Then the next one is how dependent origination equals the middle way. Then your job is to tell me how, therefore, how emptiness means the middle way. First, emptiness means dependent origination. This we have to understand it on the basis of the 5 points. Number one, emptiness. Number two, emptiness is a short form of emptiness of objective existence. When we say who means, it's not, who are you? It's a short form of World Health Organization, WHO, World Health Organization. So emptiness doesn't mean nothingness, it means the middle way. It is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number one, emptiness. Number two, that emptiness is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number two, emptiness of independent existence means, number three, nothing exists independently. Number three, nothing exists independently. Number three. Number four, nothing exists independently means everything exists by dependence. Number four, everything exists by dependence means everything is dependently existent, dependently arisen, dependently originated. So that with these 5 points, we come to deduce that emptiness means the dependent origination. Let me repeat it. The first, emptiness. Number two, emptiness is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number three, emptiness of independent existence means nothing exists independently. Number three. Number four, nothing exists independently means everything exists by dependence. Number four. Number five, everything exists by dependence. Dependent means everything is dependently existent or dependently originated. Therefore, emptiness means a dependent origination. On the basis of the 5 points, we deduce that emptiness equals dependent origination. Next, dependent origination means the middle way. How? Dependent origination has 2 sides, dependence and origination. First, dependence. When we say dependent, it rejects independence. independent existence and absolute existence, these two mean the same. So when in a way, when you say dependent, it rejects the extreme of independence, or it rejects the extreme of absolutism. And the other side, origination. Origination means something comes into origination. Something comes to the existence. When it says something exists, what is the opposite of that? What's the opposite of existence? Non-existent, nihilism. When you say origination, nihilism is rejected. With dependence, extreme of absolutism is rejected. With origination, extreme of nihilism is rejected. Combining them together, combining the two together, the two extremes are rejected. Rejecting the two extremes is following the middle way. Therefore, dependent origination means the middle way. Once you know that, then it is your job to say that A equals B, B equals C, therefore A equals C. Therefore, emptiness means the middle way. It is not nihilism. This is so important. We must get this understanding thoroughly established in our mind, and they get used to this, the understanding. Okay, so with this, understanding of the emptiness means the dependent origination, and this dependent origination has 3 levels. Dependent origination of the results, dependence on the causes, number 1. Number 2, dependent origination of the wholes, dependence on the parts. Then number 3, dependent origination of the dependence on mere mental designation. 3 levels of dependent origination. And of course, these 3 differ in subtlety, progressively becoming more subtle from the first through to the third. But say these 3 levels of dependent origin is not that, okay, so I can just understand the third one, and the first and second is the no need if I understand the saddest one. No, this is not how it works. We have to understand all 3 levels of dependent origination. Why? Okay. Finally, the point is that let's not forget, what's the purpose of you learning dependent origination? What's the purpose of you learning emptiness? What's the purpose of you doing business? Your purpose of you, say, the enjoying food, birthday, so forth? Believe it or not, we look for 2 things. 1, to stay away from miseries as much as possible. Number 2, to have as expansive happiness as possible, to have as much happiness as possible. These are the two realities. And this aspiration, that somebody having these 2 as aspirations, holds true not only to the Buddhists, not only to the males, not only to the females. These 2 holds true across the board of humanity, across the board of sentient beings. Everyone, whatever religion that you're following, whatever gender that they say that you belong to, we see that we all seek these 2 things. So if you seek these 2 things, if that is the main purpose, so that is what? That's a result, expected result. And results should come by dependence, by dependent origination, by dependence on their causal factors. So cause and effect relationship must be understood so well. First level of dependent origination, without understanding it properly, then you will end up perpetuating your miseries, because you don't know what to adopt and what to discard in order to attain your goals. So therefore, we have to understand the first level of dependent origination to know what to adopt and what to discard in order to attain our aspired goals. So in other words, whole universe is operating on a basis of the first level of dependent origination. And knowing it so well, knowing it on the basis of to the extent that my suffering originates from ignorance through the 12 links of dependent origination. If I undo the ignorance, my suffering will be undone. If you know this much, if you know this much, it'll help you to be freed from your suffering. Freedom from suffering is known as nirvana. You'll attain nirvana, but not Buddhahood. Whereas if you know this, the cause and effect relationship beyond this, beyond my suffering, if you know it beyond this, then you understand dependent origin. It becomes very complex, sophisticated, and intricate to see how the universe is operating, how all the sentient beings are suffering. So this will allow you to get to nirvana, a greater goal. Not only the happiness for yourself, but the happiness for all the dear sentient beings. So the first level of dependent origination must be understood in both cases, whether you seek personal liberation or whether you seek nirvana, the Buddhahood for all the dear sentient beings. Okay. Having said this, yes, first we'll continue reading the text, and then I'd like to add a little bit about the true nature of mind, how our mind has the potential to attain nirvana, how our mind has the potential to attain Buddhahood. Okay, that I'm going to explain a little bit later after completing the text. Screen sharing. Okay. The text reads, Venerable Shariputra, whosoever sees with perfect wisdom this dependent arising. Oh, Khadire. Dimare, Dingwe Mare. Sayama Mare. True. The count, Tandu Yateta. Yateta, Venerable Sharip. Okay. So our program coordinator wants to wind up so quickly. She jumps down. Okay. Venerable Shariputra, whosoever sees with perfect wisdom this dependent arising, perfectly taught by the Bhagavan. Bhagavan here is the Buddha, as it actually is, as always and forever, without life force. So this, I've explained it before, without life force, instead of without life force, without being a life force, meaning that you as a solid unitary entity, unitary entity as a self, not dependent on any other factors, such as self does not exist. Devoid of life force meaning that another life force, a permanent entity governing on you. That's also not true. And this dependent origination is also true in nature. What is true nature? That the reality that dependent origination is the only reality that operates in the universe. So the truth of the dependent origination, and unmistaken, that this dependent origination is something which can be verified by valid cognition. Unmistaken, unborn, that understanding dependent origination, the true existence or objective existence is never seen to have born. Objective existence is never a reality. It has never been born, unborn nature. Not a reason. Now, such an entity as the independent intrinsic reality, say, although it was unborn, but today it may be born. No, it was not a reason. Or today it is not born. Maybe in the past it must have been such an entity, permanent, independent entity must have been a reason, which is independent of dependent origination. No, such a thing never arose. Not a reason. Uncreated, and this dependent origination, nobody created. There's no agent to create this. This is a natural law. Therefore, it is said that Buddha did not invent dependent origination. The Buddha discovered dependent origination. Because the Buddha existed 2,500 years ago, but the dependent origination existed since the time immemorial. According to physics, 15 billion years since the time of the Big Bang. And the Big Bang is also a little bit of controversy, that amongst the physicists, for example, like Nobel laureate, the Professor Roger Penrose, Nobel laureate in physics, he disagrees with a single Big Bang. he accepts multiple Big Bangs. So, which accords with the Buddhist concept of the innumerable, say the time, or the time immemorial, no beginning. Then next, the uncreated by any such agent. This is just with a cause and effect. The dependent origination of the results depends on causes. This is what has been operating. There's no some external agent there, a personal agent, which decides that this should happen, that should happen, and so forth. There's no such agent there. It's just the play of the dependent origination that things happen. Uncreated, uncompounded, that intrinsically there's no cause, there's no intrinsic cause to create these. They are not intrinsically compounded. Uncompounded, unobstructed. Unobstructed meaning that, okay, this reality of emptiness of independent existence, it applies to some object, but not to some. No, it is applicable to all phenomena across the board of existence. Unobstructed. Imperceptible. Imperceptible meaning that this intrinsic reality. So what is perceived? What is perceived can be object or subject. Both object and subject. Within the subject and object, we don't see anything to be perceived as objectively real, validly existing as objectively real. Imperceptible. Tranquil. Tranquil meaning that once you understand this reality, that empty of independent existence, dependent origination on the one hand, and the other side of the coin is the emptiness of objective existence. Once you see this emptiness nature, all your fears dissolve. The tranquility arises within you. Tranquil, free of the harms. Next, fearless. Yes, when experience emptiness, all what creates fear, they dissolve in the experience of emptiness. So that experience of emptiness is the fearless nature. It's because of this that experience of emptiness, the wisdom of emptiness, is seen as the most fearless mind. Because when experience the emptiness, you see that all what otherwise creates fear in us, what creates fear in us, they are simply just a play of my own mind. Objectively, there's nothing there. Just when you wake up from the sleep or the dream of the ghost chasing you, your fear dissolves. Seeing that this is just a play of my mind, not really the objectively as the ghost. Or fearless, incontrovertible. This understanding of the emptiness of objective existence. This is something that once you understand it, nobody can shake this. It is incontrovertible. It's so stable, reliable that it is incontrovertible. And the flip side of that, understand dependent origination. That things operate on the basis of dependent origination. This is a reality nobody can deny. Inexhaustible. Same, our mental defilements exhaust, as you understand, emptiness. But in the experience of the objective reality or the ultimate reality, objectively, there's nothing there as a mental stain, later to be exhausted. There's nothing there. Say, exhaustion of mental defilements happen on the conventional level. On the ultimate level, no exhaustion makes no sense. Inexhaustible. And by nature, never stilled. I explained this earlier. By nature, never stilled, meaning that on the conventional level, yes. Say, when you meditate on emptiness, your mental agitation stills. Your mind stills. Agitation the agitation disappears, and your mind you can feel the stillness of the mind. But on the ultimate level, we see that even the stillness of the mind, once in disturbed state, later to become still, even that is just as a mental projection. Objectively, on the ultimate level, there's no something as to be stilled. Whoever fully and truly sees it as unreal things, what we see, that's not objectively real, they're unreal. Vain, like hollow things, and they're unsubstantial. Objectively, there's no substance there, unsubstantial. And then on the play of dependent origination, we see that the samsara, where your self-grasping ignorance creates the dream, and within the dream you're trapped. So that is the sickness in the dream, created by this self-grasping ignorance. Okay, that's interesting. And I can see that many of you are from one of the earlier retreats that we did in other places, and also from the non master's course, non-diploma course. Therefore, I can share this with you. Otherwise, it can be a little technical. Some people may feel lost to say this. For example, say we talk about the self-grasping ignorance. We talk about the self-centered attitude. These two are not the same. Some people, they think that these two are the same. What is self-grasping ignorance? Some people say that self-centered attitude. No, these two are very different. These two are both happening within your own mind, but these are very different. Self-grasping ignorance in Tibetan is Dangzi Marikpa. Self-centered attitude is Rang Chinzin. These two are very different. These functions are very different. The one is purely cognitive and the other one is affective in nature. Self-grasping ignorance is purely cognitive and self-centered attitude is purely affective in nature. It's very different. So what is the difference in real sense? Say, let me give you an example. Say, what is cognitive in nature? What is affective in nature? Say, some of you are so fond of flowers. And some of you, so. Okay, raise hands, those who are so fond of flowers. Raise hands. So fond of flowers, not just fond of flowers. So fond of flowers. Raise hands. Okay, some of those of you who say so, raise hands. So, raise hands. Okay, it's like half. Okay, so, and this, they crazy after the flowers, two groups. When I show this, group A, the crazy after flowers, group B, so. When I show this flower to you, I ask you, what is this? Group A will say, this is a flower. Those who are crazy after flowers. And group B, they also, this is a flower. Although they are not interested in flowers, they will still see the flower. So to this question, what is this? Both sides agree that this is a flower. This is purely cognitive. Your mind is not affected. It's not affective in nature. It's purely cognitive. Next, I say, how beautiful is this flower? Group A will say, so beautiful. Group B will say, this so. Now the answer differs. So beautiful. When it says so beautiful, it means your mind is glued towards the object. Your mind is glued. So beautiful. When your mind is glued. Glued means that your mind is affected by the object. Your mind is pulled. Your mind is affected by the object. Whereas those people who say so, their mind is not glued. Their mind is not affected by the object. So what makes the difference? That there is the affective. When it comes to the affective side, then the two groups can differ. Whereas with the cognitive side, the two groups agree. Okay, so self-grasping ignorance is purely cognitive. How does the self exist? It exists objectively, it's real. Everybody will say, everybody meaning those who do not realize emptiness will say that, everyone will say this. And to say that how precious is the self. Those who are drenched in samsara, I'm the most important thing in this universe. And those who see emptiness, those who are for the bodhisattva path, they say, yes, I'm important, but everybody's equally important. In fact, I would say others are more important than myself. So the affective side is very different. Now let us see, to give you the example of how it happens. Let's say that we fall asleep. We fall asleep. Only when we fall asleep, the dream is created. How many agree with me, friends? Only when we fall asleep, a dream is created. You're getting it? Okay. The dream is created. For example, say in an open place. Some of you may know, right? Maybe people who are like 40 plus, and even some 30 plus. They also may know about such things. In an empty place, barren place, suddenly a big shopping mall comes. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Once it was totally barren land, and they say what? A big company buys that plot of land and create a shopping mall, right? creating shopping mall. What does mean by shopping mall? Right? All the merchandise are being displayed there, right? So, the most likely, the shareholder, the greatest shareholder, will not even visit the shopping mall, this shopping mall, right? It is my shopping mall, right? The person will not even visit it, but the person will create this shopping mall. You're getting it? Okay. So the display of the merchandise on the shelves, so beautifully done. Okay. So in the dream, how many you, be very honest, how many you dreamt of visiting shopping malls? Raise your hand. Be very honest. Okay, right. So in the dream, that shopping mall was there. That shopping mall, who created this shopping mall? Who created this shopping mall, the dream shopping mall? Raise hands. Raise hands. Anyone? Raise hands, raise hands. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Raise hands. Okay, no one. Okay, Ajikibala.
My mind, Krishna, my consciousness.
Yes, how many agree? How many agree with Ajikibala? Raise hands. My own mind created this shopping mall. You're gonna get? Same. So which mind? Sleeping mind or the waking mind? Sleeping mind. Sleeping mind is the metaphor for ignorance. You're getting it? When you sleep, you're cut off from the world. Waking mind is the metaphor for a wisdom. You see the reality. You're getting it? So with the sleeping mind, ignorance, then the dream of the shopping mall is created. So this ignorance, which ignorance? Self-grasping ignorance creates the merchandise in the shopping malls. Creates the shopping mall. Now who comes? The shopper comes. You're getting it? Shopper comes. Who is that shopper? Self-centered attitude comes. Self-grasping ignorance creates the shopping mall. And self-grasping ignorance is not really interested in the shopping mall. He creates the shopping mall, that's it. Job is done. Next, the shopper comes. The customers come, right? Customers come. That is a self-centered attitude, right? And then the customer will never say that, okay, please give me something. I need a shirt. Give me a shirt. What shirt? Louis Vuitton or Gucci shirt or just a $5 shirt? No, you give something to me. You will never say that. You're getting it? You will never say that. You will never say that. You said, hey, stop. I'll go to choose myself. You're getting it? Which means self-centered attitude. I. Self-centered attitude comes to do the shopping. You're getting it? Who created the shopping mall? The ignorance created the shopping mall. Self-grasping ignorance created the shopping mall. And who comes to shop? The customers. Self-centered attitude comes. Right? So this is the difference. Oh, I like this. I like that. Self-grasping ignorance just create the shopping mall. That's it. It does not say, I like this, I like that. No, it does not say this. Just create the shop. Self-grasping ignorance creates all this illusory world. Then the self-centered attitude comes to play, comes to do the shopping in the world. I like this, I don't like this. I like the Louis Vuitton, I like the Gucci, I like Chanel bags, right? So this is where the self-centered attitude comes to do the shopping. So where what happens is that the self-grasping ignorance, if the shopping mall is not created, then the self-centered attitude, the shopper will not have attachment to any items in that particular shop because there's no shop there. So attachment, aversion will not be created. When the shopping mall is created, then the customer comes, I like this, I don't like this. A small child, right? A small child is a young child, young girl or young boy, sees the Gucci or the Louis Vuitton, and the mother picks up a very cheap one and shows this. Says, no, the color is not right, shape is not right. You know, you say something, child will continue to say something, right? So child actually saw something there. Louis Vuitton or the Gucci, whatever, has seen that. Okay, so the point is that this self-centered attitude becomes active, or it becomes very functional when the self-grasping ignorance creates the the sharp. So where self-grasping ignorance does not create the sharp, then self-centered attitude becomes like inept or dysfunctional. It is there, but it's not functional. It becomes functional. I like this. There is attachment. I don't. The mother shows the cheaper one, right? And you said, "I know this is the size is not good. Color is not." Actually, you don't like it because it's very cheap, and you don't like to say that it's cheap, right? You blame for some other reasons. So aversion comes, attachment comes. It's all because of the shopper, self-centered attitude. So aversion and the attachment, these things arise. Combination of the creation of the shopping mall and the shopper. These two come together, self-grasping ignorance and self-centered come together, then the gross afflictions arise. Attachment, aversion, fear, anxiety, stress, depression, all these things arise, explode out of the combination of these two things. So, therefore, the point is that the therefore, the point is that in this play of dependent origination, there's nothing really intrinsically there. Play of the dependent origination. When you fail to see how the shopping self-grasping ignorance creating all these illusions, and how the self-centered attitude is invigorating, give rise to the gross afflictions, then the karmas are created, miseries arise. So it says that as a sickness, screen sharing. As a sickness, failing to see dependent origination well, but yes, things operate on the basis of dependent origination. And then you engage in the wrong causes. With the wrong causes given by the self-grasping, ignorant, self-centered attitude, then the sickness is given rise to a boil, a thorn, as miserable, impermanent, painful, and yet objectively they're all empty. You wake up, you see that shopping mall that I went to, it was just my mental creation and selfless, no entity from the self. Such a person does not reflect, and if you realize these dependent origination from the side of the emptiness, from the side of the dependent origination, conventional side, ultimate side, then such the person who realized the dependent origin so well from both sides, such a person does not reflect on the past, thinking, did I exist in the past? So here, did I exist in the past does not mean that, oh, did I really exist in the past? No, this is not the question. The question is that seeing the I as objectively real, not as an illusion. Seeing the I as objectively real, then clinging to this I, and then, okay, such as that I, did I really come from the past? So the, yes or not. What was I in the past? How was I in the past? So usually when you ask these questions, you don't ask about how what was he in the past? What was she in the past? What was that person in the past? We don't really ask that. What was I in the past? So there's a solidification of the I. For example, say, look at this flower. We see this as a flower, one flower, but actually it's just a bunch of atoms. On the atomic level, there's no flower there. What's a flower? That flower, where is that flower which you say is a flower? Where's that? On going closer, you just end up seeing the atoms. There's no flower there. Where is that? Where is that appearance coming from? It's purely coming from your mind, not really from the object. So if you come to sense it, then your clinging to the self will be released. That is a freedom. So as long as, for example, the example that I give is that when you cling to a burning hot red, the burning gold. When you hold on a burning gold, a gold which is burning red gold, then if you throw this, you are throwing gold. If you keep it, it keeps burning your hand. What should you do? This is a question. So therefore, ordinary people, they don't dare to throw this because I'm throwing the gold and that it keeps burning you. So therefore, the wise people, what they do is that they will dip this burning gold in a cold water. The gold is retained and the fire is extinguished. This is what the wise people do. Likewise, this I exists on the basis of this I. virtues can happen. On the basis of this I, non-virtues can happen. Anger, selfishness, all these things can happen. So there are two things can happen. So what the wise people do is that you put this I, the person, in the cold water of the wisdom, and the fire of the non-virtues will be extinguished. And this is the self, which has the dependent origination self, which the ability to give rise to the virtues will be retained. So that way your virtues continue to grow and your negativities will subside. Okay, so such a person will not really be so obsessed with the self. They'll be obsessed with, they will be, if at all they are to be obsessed, they will be obsessed with, think of benefit of the world rather than obsessed with yourself. It says, nor does such a person reflect on the future thinking, I will exist in the future or not. Will I exist in the future or not? What will I be in the future? When your mind is all focused on the self, I say there is an indication that you go hold on to self as objective real. And in the dream, you are chased by the ghost, and then suddenly the ghost disappears. You will ask others, where did this ghost go? You will ask it. The moment you wake up, you will not ask again, where did this ghost go? You will not ask it, because you know that it's just mental creation. When you ask it, means that you are still in a dream. You are still in self-grasping ignorance. Okay, what will I be in the future? How will I be in the future? Nor does such a person reflect on the present thinking. Thinking, what is this? How is this present? Being, what will we become? Where does this being come from? Where will it go when transmigrating from here and death? Whichever dogma mendicants meaning the practitioners of different traditions and Brahmins hold throughout the world, whether they involve belief in a self meaning the objective self, solidified self, belief in a being, belief in a life force, belief in a person, they're all like synonymous. Objective self, or the permanent unitary independent self, or belief in ceremonies and festivities, the ceremonies and festivities meant to nurture the objective self. Such dogmas prone to agitation and dullness are all abandoned at that time. When you realize that things are all just imputed by the mind, only the play of dependent origination is there, where the independent existence is all empty. There's nothing independent there. Then all these, say, the misconceptions will be dropped. Fully understood as false meaning fully understood as false, not truly real. These dogmas are severed at the root and wither like the head of the palm tree, never to arise or cease in the future. So then all your mental defilements grounded in ignorance will be quelled. Once that is gone, then the pure gold, the gold mixed with the mud is all removed, and the gold will become manifest. The glow of the gold will become manifest. Venerable Shariputra, whosoever is endowed with such acceptance of the Dharma of dependent origination, where ignorance is all dissolved, and thus perfectly understands dependent arising, is prophesied for unexcelled, perfect, and complete awakening of your Buddha nature by the Tathagata. This is what was prophesied by the Tathagata, the Buddha, the Arhat, the perfectly and complete awakened one. It is for this reason that the Buddha, one of the epithets of the Buddha is that fully awakened one. The one with perfect knowledge and conduct, the Sugata, the know the world, the incompatible charioteer of those who need taming, the teacher of gods and humans, the Bhagavan, the Buddha. In this way, such a person will become a perfect and complete Buddha. This is the meaning of whosoever sees dependent origination will see the Dhamma, and whosoever sees the Dhamma will see the Buddha. You will become the Buddha at that point. Buddha doesn't mean they're a Buddhist. It means the fully awakened one who has removed all the mental defilements, mental stains, and that your true nature of your mind manifests. And that if you get a little time, I'm going to explain what is the true nature of this mind. And after the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Maitreya, had thus spoken, Venerable Shariputra, together with the world of gods, humans, asuras means demigods, and Gandharvas, the smellators, rejoiced and praised what the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Maitreya had taught. This concludes the Noble Mahayana Sutra, the Rice Seedling. Okay. As an auspicious gesture, I'm going to just read some passages from the beginning. On page 61. Okay. The Noble Mahayana Sutra, the Rice Seedling. Homage to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Thus have I heard at one time the Bhagavanas were residing on Vulture Peak mountain in Rajgriha together with a large sangha of 1,250 bhikshus and with a great many Bodhisattva Mahasattvas. At that time, the Venerable Shariputra went to the place frequented by the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Maitreya, and after they had exchanged courtesies upon meeting each other, they both sat down on the flat rock. Venerable Shariputra then said to the Bodhisattva Mahasatva Maitreya, "Here today, the Bhagavan, gazing at the rice seedling, spoke this aphorism to the bhikshus. Bhikshus, whoever sees dependent arising, sees the Dhamma. Whoever sees the Dhamma, sees the Buddha." Having said this, the Bhagavan fell silent. Maitreya, what is the meaning of this aphorism spoken by the Sugata? What's the dependent arising? What's the Dhamma? What's the Buddha? How does one see the Dhamma by seeing dependent arising? How does one see the Buddha by seeing the Dhamma? The Bodhisattva Mahasatva Maitreya then replied to the Venerable Shariputra, Venerable Shariputra, you want to know what dependent arising is? In the statement made by the Bhagavan, the Lord of the Dhamma, the Omniscient One, the bhikshus, whoever sees dependent arising sees the Dhamma, whoever sees Dhamma sees the Buddha. Okay, we'll stop here, and then to add a little bit about the true nature of the mind. What's the true nature of mind? We see that the true nature of mind, the example that I like to give is that like the gold, a pure gold, whose very nature is to glow very naturally. And that's the true nature of the gold. Likewise, the true nature of mind, the Nagarjuna gave the example in Bodhicitta and the Dharmadhatu Stava, in praise of Dharmadhatu. Nagarjuna gave the metaphor of light as the true nature of mind, the light. And this light, say, when they put in the vase, the light is captured by the pitcher. And while they say, which means that the room is still very dark. And while the true nature of the light is to glow, is to spread across the room, but today it is not spreading. There's no indication of the presence of the light there. And which means that what the light is doing is not the true nature of this light, because there's no spread of light there. So Nagarjuna said that there's a light there in this picture, and you wonder if there's really a light there. So to relate this to yourself, we see that you have the light of the total fearlessness and infinite happiness. You have this, but I don't feel this. How do you know that this light of the fearlessness and infinite happiness? How do you know this? There's nothing really there within me. I'm so full of fear. I'm so deprived of happiness. So how do I know that I have this light? Okay, so Nagarjuna gives a metaphor that if you punch a hole to this pitcher from any direction, from this very hole, the light from inside will beam forth. You don't have to put something there inside and then pull out the light. The light will automatically come out from this the tiny hole, which means that the true nature of the light inside is to beam, is to spread across the room. And then if you're still not convinced, then you break the vase, break the pitcher. Then the light inside will spread across the room to every nook and corner of the room. So that is the true nature of the light. So our mind, and you don't have to tell the light, now you spread, now the pitcher is gone, you now spread. You don't have to say there's the light, the true nature, the very nature of the light is to just spread. Likewise, our mind, Why this light failed to spread is because this is enclosed within the vase. The light is captured within the vase. Likewise, the true nature of mind is to spread, is to just flow freely to every atom of the universe, like this light. But it does not flow. For example, my mind doesn't flow to, say, I'm in India. My mind does not flow to America. I don't see anything what is happening in America. So it's not, yes, it actually can flow everywhere, but it's captured in the vase of the mental departments. When it's captured in the vase of mental departments, the light cannot do anything. Light is captured there. So what should you do? You should break this vase. What is this vase metaphor? This vase is a metaphor of the mental defilements. Mental defilements like the mud. The mud, when mixed with the gold, though the nature of the gold is to glow, but the gold cannot glow. And oftentimes, ordinary people may throw this mud, thinking that this is just a mud. But the gold experts will not throw this, will say that there's gold there. How do you know that there's gold there? Remove the mud, and the gold will come out separately. So likewise, we have to remove the pitcher, like the break the pitcher, but remove the mud, mental defilements. How to do that? We have to look at the root cause. What's the root cause? Self-grasping ignorance and its subtle stains. Remove them. How to remove them? By the wisdom. Okay. So when we see that, this is going to be a little technical, and people from the early retreats who already studied about emptiness before, or attending NMC, NDC 1, 2, 3, for you will be beneficial. For others, it'll be helpful. But then if you find little loss, bear with me, that it may be like indication that we have to study more. Okay. So what is happening is that, what is this defilement? I don't see any defilement. I don't see any picture there. This is all metaphorical. What is the reality? The reality is that the reality is that once in a while, for example, let's say that somebody is so kind to you. Somebody is so kind. Say that you are in an unknown place. You are so apprehensive. Any burglars, any robbers, or any fraud people, fraudsters can come. So the scammers, they can come and they deceive me. You have so much apprehension, the fear, and suddenly you end up seeing your very, very affectionate sister or brother there, and instantly, just by seeing the person, there's a deep sense of security, calmness comes to you. Tell me, where is this calmness coming? Is it coming from a sister going to your heart? No, it's coming from somewhere from inside. The real source, this source is from somewhere inside, whether towards the heart or towards brain, wherever, somewhere inside, which you can see, which the neuroscientists cannot see, which you can experience, which the neuroscientists cannot see. You can experience that. And when you see that there's a genuine flow of the love and affection, between the mother and the child, even between in some places there are the people who keep that they treat the monkeys as the family, and genuine love and affection is extremely beautiful, extremely beautiful. That feeling is so beautiful. And then when was that? It was an earthquake somewhere. Earthquake, No. There's an earthquake. Okay, so here the Tibetan stuff around me, information, they're all outdated information. They give me outdated information. We're talking about Nepal. It was like many years ago. It was not too far away. Okay, so with the earthquake, they say when people were removing the debris, they found a father with a small child in his arm, and the father is dead, and the child is still safe. The child was still alive. So look, what gave the strength to this father to hold the child, to protect the child and risk his own life? It's the love and affection. This is so precious. When you feel that, the calmness, the joy, the tranquility, this unsurpassable is so beautiful. Words cannot explain it well. It's so beautiful. And where is it coming from? It's coming from somewhere inside. Somewhere inside. It's not physically arisen. It is mentally. It's coming from somewhere in the non-tangible. It is non-tangible mind. So that is the true nature. That's the true source of the treasure. So when you become enlightened, this experience multiplied by infinity is what you're going to experience. If a tiny bit of that experience is what even the billionaires could feel it, they'll be happy to buy this experience. But money cannot buy this. It's only through cultivating this infinite compassion with the infinite wisdom can you expect to retrieve this deep, beautiful, the feeling of the joy from within, deep within. So that is a true nature of mind. Now, to explain this cognitively or technically, it's going to be a little technical, is what happens is that our mind is imbued with ignorance, seeing things so objective real, failing to see dependent origination. This is what it is. And then the imprints of the self-centered attitude, which sees that I am more important than others, or I'm important by being oblivious to others. Even the self-centered attitude, there are two kinds, the gross and the subtle. Gross self-centered attitude of this gross self-centeredness is that I am more important than others. With this, all the gross problems in the world arise. In the family, if there's a fight happening, there's a self-centered attitude there, gross self-centered attitude there. In the communities, if the riots are happening, gross self-centered attitude is there. On the international level, if some country is trying to annex another country, gross self-centered attitude is happening, 100%. This is what creates all the gross problems in the world. Number one. What is a subtle self-centered attitude? Subtle self-centered attitude does not say that I am more important than others, but it cherishes the self. It cherishes the self. And cherishing the self, there's nothing wrong in it. Please cherish the self. Self is extremely important. It deserves to be cherished. But if you say that, who's hungry? I'm hungry. And who needs the food? I need the food. And who needs iPhone 14? I need iPhone 14. Right? And who needs this? I need this. Who want to work? I don't want to work. Right? So it's all about, there's something there. Something there. What is that? I all the time. Never talk about others. So while the self-centered, while the self is important, but when it is oblivious to others, when this attitude is oblivious to others, then that becomes the problem. Because it is not an invalid mind, it's a valid mind. It's a valid mind, but it is a problem in ways of being having a very small scope of thinking. The scope of thinking is very small, it's very narrow. I all the time. For example, it is like you come to enjoy the beautiful garden here, the same day here. So all this typical stuff around me. Oh. So again, garden, there's a Lodi garden. The next, there is not at all a garden actually. Okay, so there's a Mughal garden where the president lives. They have no idea of these things. Mughal garden is a beautiful garden there, right? And you come all the way from different places to enjoy the Mughal garden. You go there, and then it happens that you arrive in the Mughal garden in the night where there's no light. And you have a tiny torch. The tiny torch. What is a torch? Torch is a metaphor for the wisdom to dispel the darkness. a tiny torch. This tiny torch is good enough for you to enjoy a flower. It's not good enough to enjoy the garden. You're getting it? The tiny torch, there's nothing wrong with this torch, but the problem with the torch is that the scope of this light is very narrow and small, that you only can enjoy the flower. You are not enjoying the garden. So when you say I all the time, you being oblivious to others. This is a subtle self-centered attitude. It is not wrong, but the problem with it is that the scope of thinking is very narrow and small. That's the problem. And some of you may think, but what's the problem if I think about myself? And if it's not an invalid mind, what's the problem? Yes, there's a problem. What problem? What do you want? Don't say that you are being very selfish. No, don't say like this. This is not how the Nalanda studies work. How does the Nalanda study work? Is that it always works on the basis of what you want. Never force. Never force. Right? Begin with reminding you of what you want. I want, how many agree with me? If I ask this question, what do you want? You will say that if possible, I want to stay away from all the miseries and I want to have the maximum happiness, infinite happiness. Presents. And some of you may not agree with the word happiness. If you're not happy with the word happy, then you can say infinite fulfillment, infinite ease, right? If this is what you want, if you want infinite ease, then infinite is also dependent originated. You have to know the reality of dependent origination of the infinite ease. Infinite ease arises by dependence on expanding making the mind to flow at ease. It should not be restricted. Mind should not be restricted. You should not allow your mind to be restricted. Let the mind flow in its natural form. What's the natural form of the mind? To flow infinitely. But when they say, when you're angry, your mind shrinks. It does not flow freely. When does your mind flow freely? When you feel compassion. When does your mind flow freely towards person A? When you feel the compassion, genuine compassion, the mind flows so freely. A small child in school, the child shrinks. At home, instantly the child feels every atom of the cell of the child is relaxed because the mind flows so freely in front of the two parents. So the secret, if you want the infinite happiness, let your mind flow freely to the infinite beings. And how to make it happen? Universal compassion. Compassion towards all the beings. This will make your mind to feel the infinite ease. That is the true nature. So when you say that I was a problem, I don't want to think about others, in a way you are restricting your mind to behave in its natural form. You're stopping your mind to behave in its natural form. Natural behavior of your mind is to flow infinitely. This is what it can do, and you're stopping it. Okay, now technically speaking, how does that happen? Okay, now let me finish this and we'll stop here. Technically speaking, how does it happen? It's purely cognitive in nature. How? When you see things as, say, we talk about, say, I don't want fear. I want to have the maximum happiness. What stops you from having no fear? It is technically we call it self-grasping ignorance or afflictive obscurations. And what stops you from letting your mind flow freely with infinite ease? Cognitive obscuration. Let me repeat it. So finally, what makes your mind not to behave in the natural form is by these two obscurations. The picture restricts the light from behaving in the real form. What is that picture? Mental defilement. What? The gross one afflictive obscurations and the subtle one cognitive obscurations. What are these two? What are these two? In technical sense, say at the root, both have the cognitive element. Okay, what? Cognitive element like what? Let's say that, okay, let's say that you go to the airport. You go to the airport and you already got the boarding pass and you still have another 1 hour. So what do? You go for shopping. You go for shopping, or you're not interested in shopping. So you want to go for a winter shopping. Either go for shopping or go for winter shopping. Okay. And if you really go for shopping, right, there are two things: real shopping and the winter shopping. Winter shopping means just to have a glance. That's it. You will not buy anything. Shopping means I want something. So which of the two will most likely make you to lose your flight? Tell me, anyone? Some people, they lose their flight, right? Right? They miss the flight. They got the boarding pass and they're so engrossed in the shopping in the airport and they miss the flight, right? Okay, it happens. Which of the two you think will most likely make you miss the flight? Raise hands. Okay, Taruna.
Usually the real shopping.
Real shopping, you're getting it? Okay, that's a very gross one which stops you from, which makes you to miss your flight. You're getting it? Okay, so likewise, your mind, there are two things. Let's say that the dream, you're getting it? The dream ghost. Dream ghost is created by your mind. And there are two things. Dream ghost is created by your mind. And say, we believe the dream ghost is real. And how many of you have what is known as the lucid dream? Or where you have the dream, but you are aware that I'm dreaming. Raise hands. How many of you had that experience at least once? At least once that you're dreaming and you are aware that, oh, I'm dreaming. You're getting it? Okay. Which of the two traps you in the dream more? Believing the dream is real, or just having the dream, knowing that it's a dream? Which of the two traps you in the drain you? What is that? Drowns you in the dream more? Raise hands. Okay, Henrik.
Believing not knowing that there is a dream will trap me more in the dream.
Seeing the dream is real, thinking that the dream is real.
Yes, Krishna.
That will drown you deeper into the dream. Okay. Likewise, the seeing the dream is real means seeing the dream is objectively real. When we see things objectively real, even during the waking state, we see things as objectively real, and we believe things are objectively real, right? We believe things are objectively real. That's so gross. That is the afflictive obscuration. And with this belief, all the fears are created. That is samsara. Believing things are objectively real. That attracts all the miseries. And that is samsara. That attracts all the fears. Okay, now, say the dream is created, the dream appears, but you are aware that its dream is not real. So appearance of dream happens, but you are aware that you don't believe that it is real. Are you still in the dream or outside dream? You're still in the dream. You're getting it? You're still in the dream. The dream will not affect you, but you have no access to the outside world, outside dream. You're getting it? You're not affected by the dream because you know there is dream, but you don't have the access to the outside the dream. Okay, so where the things exist, things appear as objectively real, but you know that things don't exist as objectively real. So say the grasping of things are objectively real, that stops, but still things appear as objectively real. So there you are still in the dream of samsara. You are still in the dream of samsara, but samsara does not affect you. It does not affect you, but you don't have the access outside that dream. You're getting it? So you don't have access to all the phenomena because there's something left outside the dream. So that is a cognitive limitation, cognitive inadequacy. This is known as cognitive obscuration. Seeing things as objectively real, although you don't believe that is objectively real, you have realized emptiness of objective existence, but you continue to see things objectively real. You don't have the access to all the phenomena because you don't know what is outside this dream. You don't know that. So that is known as cognitive obscurations. That stops you from knowing all phenomena simultaneously. You only see things within the confinement of this dream, not what is outside this dream. You have no access to that. That is the cognitive obscurations. Okay, so when you create the dream, you believe the dream is real, that creates a whole samsara, the fears of samsara attracted. If you want to stop all the fears of samsara, stop believing in things as object real, number one. And if you want to be fully awakened, meaning that you want to have your mind to behave in its most natural form, then get access to inside the dream and outside the dream both. How to do that? Just wake up from the sleep completely. Wake up completely. This is what therefore this is why the Buddha is referred to as the fully awakened one. Then you have access to all phenomena simultaneously. So that is the elimination of cognitive obscuration. And how does the elimination of these two obscurations happen? It's only by the wisdom of emptiness. The wisdom of emptiness through the understanding of dependent origination. And this wisdom, when complemented by just the desire to get away from the fears of samsara, it'll take you to nirvana. Whereas if that is complemented by the desire to benefit all the beings, then it'll take you to Buddhahood or the full awakening. Okay. So with this, then all the mental defilements are gone and the mind will behave in its most natural form. What is that? To get access to every atom of the universe and every mind of the sentient beings. You know every phenomena. That is known as the omniscient mind. Okay, we stop here. And since that is already time up, I thought of inviting questions. Maybe we can invite 1 or 2 questions if you have. Raise hands if you have questions. Okay, Johan. Yes, unmute Johan. Yes, yes.
Geshe, I have some question about the relation of the first level of emptiness, causes and conditions, and the relation with if there's a relation came up to me just when you were talking about it, in between causes and conditions in the first level of emptiness and the karma, cause and effect. I have the feeling there's some relation there that I don't understand. Could you explain to us?
Okay, good question. Thank you. So, by the way, I'm not sure whether I got your question fully. The first level of dependent origination, and dependent origination of the results depends on the causes, cause and effect.
Right.
Within the cause effect, we see there's a karmic cause and effect. So the cause if cause and effect in general, and the karmic cause and effect in more specific, how these two are related. Is this your question? Okay. If this is a question, Johan?
Yeah, I've more or less the impression that something is very related. Yeah, it is something more or less the same.
So, okay, same that these two are more related. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't really understand. That's why it's the question. Yeah? If it's
Okay.
related or
So,
the same.
Okay, let us put it like this. Whole universe operates on the basis of the cause and effect. First, let us put it this way. And the whole universe, meaning that, like, say, this flower falls and it makes a sound. That is very natural. It's a natural cause and effect. It's not that the flower falls and the Buddha told the flower that now you have to make a sound, tuck, you know. It's not like that. This is just a cause and effect, dependent origination. This is how one part of the universe operates. Then another part of the universe operates. Say like, say that I'm being very stingy. I'm not being kind. I'm being very, say I'm very stingy and not letting, you know, my possessions to go out, being so stingy. And the result that later on I suffer poverty. Again, this is also part of the universe. Because of practice of stinginess, the poverty arises. There's also the cause and effect relationship. So we see that the whole universe is operating either on the basis of like the flower falls and the sound, and the sound is created, and water drips, and the hot water drips and the snow melts, or the global warming happens and the melting of the snow accelerates. This is again a cause and effect relationship. This is again a part of the universe operation. So in other words, we see the whole universe operating on the basis of the cause and effect. This is one. Within the cause and effect, there's one category where intention is involved. For example, this flower, it falls, and the flower does not have the intent to create the sound. Whereas a small child, right, falls and makes a sound, screams to attract the attention of somebody else. Right? There's intention involved there. But this, it falls and sound is created, or the glass falls and it breaks, it makes a loud sound. It does not have the intention to pull the attention of somebody else. Where a small child just falls, a very minor fall, no need to cry, but screams to attract the attention of somebody else. So there the intentions involved. Where the intentions involved, that cause becomes a karmic cause. And the effect of that is known as the karmic result. That is the part of the main umbrella of the cause and effect. Cause and effect where the intentions involved, cause and effect where there's intentions not involved. Where the intention involved is known as karmic cause and effect. This is a relationship. Okay, Henrik, you have a question?
Yes, Geshe. It relates, but also intention has a cause, and that cause has already passed. So it seems a bit deterministic, like everything that happens, the causes for that happening has already happened. So whether something will happen or not, it's determined in the past. And in that case, everything becomes very fatalistic or deterministic. And it disturbs me.
Okay. And it disturbs you. Okay. Say okay, Henrik, let's say that you don't want the disturbance. Say you have your, let's say I don't know what you are fond of. Say you're fond of music, Henrik? Huh? Okay, anything. Let's say you're fond of something.
Yeah.
Let's say you're fond of flower. I don't know whether you're fond of flower. Let's say for easy sake. Let's say you're fond of flower, right? And I tell you that this flower is nothing but made of cells. And the cells are made of chromosomes. Chromosomes are made of DNA molecules. Molecules are made of atoms. It's just nothing but atoms, right? What is it? You say flower. There's no flower. It's just a bunch of atoms, right? And where's this flower? Where is that flower? You identify as a flower. Where is that coming from? On the object, there's only a bunch of atoms. None of the atoms are flower. First flower. This can disturb you more. You're getting it?
Mhm.
Your favorite thing disappears. Okay. So the point is that what I'm saying is that by the way, your question is quite a complicated question. Saying that it's a debate between free will and determinism.
Yes, Geshe.
It's a debate between free will and determinism. Say in fact, Albert Einstein, he is more into deterministic, belief. He's more into deterministic. For him, determinism versus not free will, determinism versus randomness. For him. So we have, when you say determinism, it has many connotations. The determinism versus free will, that is different from determinism versus randomness. So quantum mechanics talk about the randomness, but Albert Einstein doesn't really agree with the randomness. So he said that the world operates on the deterministic form, not in a random way. So determinism as opposed to randomness. So that determinism does not really have the connotation of the fatalism. Fatalism meaning that everything is fixed, right? You cannot do anything. You don't have the free will to decide what you're going to do. Everything's fixed. For example, no, I'm going to drink it or not. You're getting it? I'm going to drink this or not. If you say, yes, you'll drink it, I'll not drink it, I'll keep it down. And if you said, you'll not drink it, I'll drink it. So I use my free will. But you may argue with me that when you drink it, you say that you have the desire to challenge me. That made you to act. That desire to challenge me is because that you are not too compassionate towards me. If you're very compassionate, you will not challenge me. You're getting it? Some you keep tracking the earlier causes, we see that it can be the track back ad infinitum. Ad infinitum, which means that it's purely deterministic, as opposed to say deterministic in the form of fatalism. That you have no free, there's no free choice, there's no choice, there's no freedom, there's no free will. So how do you reconcile this? This is a very separate discussion, but do you agree with me that two things different? Let's say this glass on the floor, I drop this, it will make a sound, right? And a small baby just falls, screams. You're getting it? Both make sounds. The first one does not have the intention. Second one is intentionally the sound is created. Do you agree or not? If you agree, don't go beyond. If you agree, where there's intention involved, where there's no intention involved, this is difference. Where there's intention involved, that becomes a karmic cause and effect. Where there's no intention involved, that becomes a non-karmic cause and effect. Stay there. Now, if you want to explore more, we are not discussing about the karmic cause and effect. We are not learning about karmic cause and effect. We are learning whether or not there's a free will. This is a very different question. You're getting it? So if this is a question, whether there's a free will or not, or it's purely deterministic, then I would say that there is free will. Intention is a proof that there's a free will. Yet, free will and determinism, say, it's not that they are totally dichotomous. They can overlap. They can overlap. For example, let's say that the atoms and the flower, these two are not totally dichotomous. How you view from the macro level, you see the flower, you don't see the atoms. On a macro level, you see the atoms, you don't see the flower. There's no contradiction there. It's how you employ your perception. So likewise, the free will and determinism, these two can overlap depending on what kind of perception you employ. So let's say that I said that, okay, what is free will? Free will, don't define free will according to your choice. Free will should be determined how that is used in the conventional world. So in the conventional world, we say that everyone has there's a free press, right? There's a freedom of speech, freedom of thought. This is conventional world. Don't define it in your own ways, right? So because things exist only conventionally, definition must be according to the convention. So according to convention, that, okay, am I going to drink this, what is this? Oh, lemon tea. Am I going to drink this lemon tea or not, right? And then you will say that, what will you say? Okay, this was the debate that happened in the 1st century AD between a great Indian master, Bodhisattva Arideva, and his counterpart. Two of them were debating. Bodhisattva Arideva, and they say there was the non-Buddhist philosopher who came to destroy Nalanda on the academic level, not destroy the physical, but destroy the academic, the Nalanda, the quality. He entered, and then he was extremely intelligent and sharp and so well read that you debate and you cannot really challenge this outsider. And whereas Nagarjuna and his student Bodhisattva Arideva, two of them were not in Nalanda at that time. Then this information they got there, and then Nagarjuna was invited to come to defeat that. Otherwise, if you cannot defeat intellectually, then they can continue to destroy the whole Nalanda. And the Bodhisattva Arideva, his student, they said that now the master, you stay and I will go to defeat. And there's the non-Buddhist philosopher. So he went there, and there were so many debates happening. And one was that this non-Buddhist master, he caught a bird in his hand, a living bird in his hand, and asked Arideva, the bird inside my hand, is it dead or alive? This question. So in a way, it's about the free will or no free will. The bird inside my hand, is it alive or not? If the Bodhisattva Arideva says it's alive, he will squeeze it and kill it. If he says it's not alive, he will let it go. So Bodhisattva Arideva, he knows that there's a free will there, right? So because there's a free will, he can kill the bird if he says that it is alive. So what is that? That it entirely depends on your compassion. If you are compassionate, you will not kill this, you will spare this bird. If you're not compassionate, and if I say that it is alive, you will squeeze it, right? It has nothing to do with the bird, dead or alive, it's your compassion. So here is the free will. So what I'm saying is that free will is there. The next question is that you can go into detail. For example, like on the macro level, it's a flower. You go in more detail, then you enter into the micro world. In the micro world, the flower collapses. There's no flower. Likewise, the free will operates on the macro level. On the macro level of the reality dependent origination, then the free will concept dissolves. It doesn't mean that free will does not exist. It does exist. It makes sense on the macro level. Or maybe the last question, if somebody has. Center Kalachakra. Okay, who's that? Your name is Center Kalachakra?
Attendez, c'est quoi? C'est Center Kalachakra?
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Capucine, but but I'm not asking the question for me.
Ah,
We cannot hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
But your name
Okay.
is you are Center Kalachakra.
j'ai
Yes,
pensé que
my
tu
name
t'appelais
is
Saint Kalachakra.
Capucine.
Oh, Capucine, yes. Capucine.
Yes, and there is a monk who is watching the live on YouTube, and he has a question. So I will read the question for him.
Ah,
So the question is concerning the link, craving and grasping at the time of death. It was said that grasping can be grasping to the body we are losing, for example. We also talked about the importance of having a virtuous state of mind. So could Geshe explain how those minds articulate? For example, first we generate a virtuous mind, such as refuge, then craving and grasping for the body arise. What is the sequence? So that's
okay.
the question.
Okay, this is
Ok, donc la
this is a good question.
question.
This is a good question. Thank you so much. Whoever asked this question is a very practical question. And Capucine, thank you for bringing this question up. Thank you. The question is so good. The question is that how to help a dying person, particularly, of course, in two ways. One, that the dying person doesn't go through trauma, and then the dying person in the next life meets with the favorable birth of human birth, if possible human birth. Then we meet with the great teachings of the Buddha, how to make these things happen. For that, in simple terms, we have to let the person, we have to put effort to arouse virtues in the mind of the dying person. But the question is that the closer closer towards the time of the death, then the number 8 and number 9, 12 links, number 8 and number 9 arise. Number 8 and number 9, they are the craving and the grasping. These two are afflictions. Afflictions and virtuous mind cannot go together. When the afflictions arise, virtuous mind cannot arise at that point. When the virtuous mind arises, and the craving mind, the afflictions cannot arise at that time. So, what do we do? It says that invariably, closer to his death, the closer to his death, the craving and the grasping, these two afflictions arise. Then, when do we arouse virtue in the mind of that dying person? This is a very good question. Thank you. Okay, so in this connection, what I would say is that I'm sure that some people who work in the hospices, you have come across, many people who are dying, going through the process of dying and breathing the last breath. And in some cases, they continue to breathe, but they lose the consciousness. Consciousness meaning that they lose the awareness. They go more like a vegetative state, they breathe, vegetative state or common state and so forth. Okay, so there are different, people go through different, I say the states, and it's not uniform to everyone. And for some people, it's just like you have an accident like this, finished and dead. And then some, they're very interesting. And one of my friends, he conveyed that these are things we need to be aware of the different scenarios. My friend, he told me that he was at the workplace, and his wife, was at home with his mother, and his mother, they knows where her son is working and where he is at that point. And just say in a very unconventionally, the mother asked the daughter-in-law, "Where's my son?" And the daughter-in-law said that your son is at workplace. You know that already. And she said, okay. The mother said, okay. And she was perfectly all right, physically perfect, all right. And after a while, again, the mother asked the daughter-in-law, where's my son? When will he come? And the daughter-in-law then started to suspect something or have some doubt. Something's going wrong with the mother. Then she said that he's still at work. I told you already, and you know that already. And then instantly she called her husband that your mother is asking me this twice. And she asked the mother if you're okay. And she said, I have a little headache. And I have the stomach, the upset. And she reported this to the husband. And the husband said that I'm in the workplace. I cannot come like this. And again, the mother asked, and then the daughter-in-law took it very seriously and asked the husband to come. And the husband reluctantly came. The son came, and some told mother, Mama, are you okay? And she said, she's seeing the son, and she told the daughter-in-law that I want to just lie down to rest. And the mother seeing the son, she was so happy, and then she held the hand of the son. And the son said, Mom, you cannot say it like this. If you have any headache with these things, we'll go to hospital. And the mother said, no, I'm not going to hospital. And the son insisted that we have to go to hospital now and to just check. And she says, no, I don't have to go to. And she insisted. And finally, she said that, okay, now you all stay around me, sit around me. So made everybody, the son, the daughter-in-law, the children, everybody to sit around her. And she was congratulating everybody, thanking everybody that you've been so kind, you have taken care of me all these many years. I just really am very fortunate that I've been so well looked after by all of you. I want to thank you all. And then after a while, she told everybody, now you all leave. You all leave and I like to rest more. I have a little headache. And then she was facing towards His Holiness's picture. His own photograph was close to her. She faced that side and just kept looking at the photograph. Then everybody left. And the daughter-in-law was smart. She kept the door little close, little open, so that they can still see what she's doing there. And everybody left. And the daughter-in-law was constantly keeping an eye on the mother through the small passage. And she could sense that everything was pin drop silent. Then call the husband that we go in now to see what happened. So seems that something's wrong. They went in, the mother left. The mother died already. Okay, so these things also happen. And in some cases, the person breathe, but go into vegetative state, go into coma state. And so we have the Ajasri Samla there, and Ajadawagasana there, and the nurses, doctors are there. You know the situation better. So these are the realities. So under such situation, as the monk asks, say, closer to the death, if the craving and the grasping, the afflictions arise, then how can we arouse virtues? This is a very good question. So the best thing is that when the person is, if it is a gradual process, when a person still has the sanity, when the person still has this conscious thought that, okay, I'm here with the family, when the person still has this very clear, vivid awareness, you have to arouse the virtues at that point, arouse the thought of virtue at that point. Say, where if the person is Buddhist, you talk about the Buddha, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, teaching compassion, wisdom, emptiness, whatever this person is more exposed to. And if the person, and if at all the person doesn't have any exposure to these things, or the person is not a Buddhist, it doesn't matter. if the person is not Buddhist, just try to let the person remember his or her good deeds the person did, the same person, that dying person did, and while he or she was still alive. Try to arouse those thoughts, the virtues that the person did, the benefit the person gave to other people, the kindness the person showed to other people, and so forth. And you try to, don't exaggerate, tell the truth, don't exaggerate. What the person did not do and you did a wonderful, amazing thing like this, the person knows that you are telling lie. And whatever you are saying, this is just to make him happy. So the person will not really become happy. So you have to say things which are real, which are true, which are facts. The good things the person did, try to recall these and let the person remember these good things, sense of achievement, and then the feeling of the lightness, calmness will come. Feel the lightness, the trauma feeling will calm down. And then if somebody doesn't mind hearing the words, the voice of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, play the teachings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, because what he teaches is all about compassion, is all about the wisdom of emptiness and so forth, which directly, indirectly helps the dying person. Do these things. So these are the ways and manner in which we activate the arousal virtues in the person. And then when will the craving and the grasping arise? In some cases, they can arise, if we are not being really skillful, they can arise very early. Say you talk about, okay, then some children, they force their parents to put the signature that the property is in my name, all these are disasters. These are horrendous things. So you should be very careful not to let the dying person die with such the grief, pain, fear, anger, agitation, despair, and so forth. This is so important. So why? When you do that, you are actually accumulating negative karma within yourself. While harming the other person, you're also harming yourself. You should be very careful. Now, going back to the main point, so where you are being very skillful, trying to arouse the virtues, then the craving and these things that depend on the individual. If the dying person has a strong, intense craving and it is craving for something, the person, the possession, the property, and so forth, in the past, you can mitigate the power of that by arousing the virtues to the best. This will help the craving and the grasping to be less intense and can be short-lived, not for the lasting. And so this is how we can help them. And then when the person is totally disconnected, what the person hears, the sees, even the hearing subsides, then the person will be in the world of his or her own mind. Then the imprints, the craving, you cannot really do much. So till the person is still, connected with the external world, you hear, okay, where is my son, these things. So at that point, you try your best, we try our best to activate or arouse virtuous mind in that person. Good. Thank you. We'll stop here and let's do the end direction prayer. Okay, one last question. Seems like there's one pressing question here. Nili Portugali, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Thanks for letting me. Thanks a lot for enabling always, to hear your teachings from far distance. I really appreciate that. Now, in reference to what you said, of course, it makes a lot of sense and reasonable to think that any phenomena is, is dependent arising and generated by causes. But my question is into reference to two kinds of experiences that you were mentioning. Why is it really important for us at that practical experience to be aware of, of causes and effects and dependent arising? And let me give you just two concrete examples. If we take, for instance, the flower, that you showed. Now, if you think about, how people in, I would say, in a phenomenological way of thinking, we see we appreciate the beauty of the of the flower through our senses, you know, and which is fine. I mean, and the whole good feeling, the pleasant feeling that provokes us is via direct senses. Now, why do we need at that point to be aware about, you know, the causes that generated the flower and all that, you know, you were talking about? This is one thing. The other one is, if we take, you know, an unpleasant experience, let's take the Tibet case. And you know, the Tibetans are really oppressed by Chinese, by the Chinese. Now, we say, you know, for tango, you need two. What does it help actually to make really the Tibetans in Tibet, of course, happy, where the other side, their state of mind or their understanding or their intentions or whatever are completely different? How the Tibetans can be happy by really being aware of, you know, what we say, you know, the ultimate reality or emptiness and all of this. So it's a very practical question, but I'm not clarified about it.
Okay, thank you. Both the questions are very good. First, if you like to, somebody who enjoys flower, somebody who enjoys cheesecake, right? I enjoy cheesecake. This is my favorite thing in the early morning breakfast, cheesecake, right? Now he asks us to look at the atoms. Cheesecake is lost. Now I lost my, you know, the favorite part of my breakfast, right? So now I cannot enjoy the cheesecake anymore. Don't worry. The question is, saying, what do you want? Don't say, usually some of my friends connected to me through Dharma, these people, they bring their friends when we meet somewhere else, they bring their friends and tell their friends that, hey, it's so good. You go to Geshe-la's teaching in Tibet house, we go to the Tibet house and attend Geshe-la's teachings. I said, don't make things boring. You know, always teaching, teaching, teaching. Don't make things boring, right? Please come to Tibet house, have a cup of tea. Let's have a nice chat, right? Don't make things boring. Okay. So the question is, what do you want? We can't force everybody to become enlightened. You're getting it? We can't force everybody to become a Nobel laureate in physics. First, what do you want? If the person says, I like to enjoy the flower, right? I want to enjoy the flower. Enjoying the flower is also dependently originated. You're getting it? They say by dependence on not looking at the flower closely, you can enjoy the flower. Don't look at the flower closely, enjoy the flower from distance. But depending on that, then you can enjoy the flower. If you enjoy the flower, you want to enjoy the flower even more, you plant the flowers, plant the seeds. By depending on plant the seeds, what flower do you want? Particularly what flower you like to enjoy? Orchid flower. Then plant the seeds of the orchid flower. Don't plant the seeds of the lily flower, right? So this is again depend. There's no contradiction with it. So if those people who want to enjoy it, if there's a purpose, enjoy the flower. Knowing that this dependent origination, you can make yourself enjoy the flower the maximum. It will not harm you. Whereas if you're more smart, I enjoy the flower. When the flower withers, I feel sad, right? I feel sad. I don't want to feel sad, right? Then you will buy an artificial flower, right? Will last longer. No, I don't want to have the artificial flower. I want to have the real flower, right? You cannot have these two together, right? Because this is dependent origination. So by dependent origination, you should act according to. So we cannot be a Buddha, we cannot be sentient together, right? So we have to know the reality. So the reality is that if you really want to if you really want to enjoy the flower, yes, you can enjoy it. I'll teach you how best to enjoy the flower. But this enjoyment of the flower will not last long. This is reality. This is also because it's a dependent origination. Because the causes of the flower, they're so fragile. So the result of the flower is also very fragile. Then when the flower withers, I feel sad. I don't want to feel sad. no, it's such a joy to be with my family. When family members die, then I feel so sad. I feel so lost. Yes, this is a reality, right? So what do you want? And then next life again, you will have you can again meet with a beautiful flower, beautiful family members. Again, they will die. Yes, they will die. Again, I will feel sad. No, then it's good. Unending suffering. Yes, this is known as pervasive conditioned suffering. You're getting it? So therefore, the thing is that when you feel so attached to a flower, you are not looking at the bigger reality. So as you become more mature, the flower is too insignificant. When you look at the flower, you enjoy the flower, suddenly there's an earthquake, you will leave the flower and you will jump to rescue your life. Because you see a bigger reality, bigger, more important reality. So as you become more mature, you see the smaller things as insignificant. You see a more beautiful picture there, more beautiful realities. So what's the most beautiful reality is where all your appreciation to the beauties, your appreciation of the love and affection, they are all maximum with the pains reduced to zero. That is the most beautiful thing. If that can be achieved, yes, if you want to achieve that, then you have to look at the flower from the atoms, right? This will help you to stop all the pains, because the pains are created by the attachment. Pains are created by the attachment. So this cut the attachment and your happiness will multiply. It will not shrink. We think that when the attachment cuts, then your life becomes so boring. This is our misconception. When the attachment stops, then your joy multiplies. Why you want to enjoy the flower? Because you feel the joy inside. This joy can be even more infinite by seeing emptiness. It will not harm you. It will help you. This is number one. Number two, about Tibet, to make it very short, about Tibet. Say, the reality is not that when I emptiness, then all the problems stop. No. Even me meditate to emptiness is a part of dependent origination, causal dependent origination. Say, and causal dependent origination because of the karma. What karma? Collectively, we must have created such enormous karma in the past, which is so powerful that we cannot stop it. So that our opposition, CCP, is so powerful that we cannot really fight back. When that happens, then our choices either say somehow there's no escape. You are under the grip of the CCP. There's no choice, right? This is reality. Earlier, when I was younger in school, I thought that, oh, some countries, the stronger countries, they can help. But today, look at the world today. Nobody can help each other. That's the reality. Only if there is your personal benefit, business benefit, then you may help. Then you may go to, not really rescue, but to save the reservoir of the wealth coming from the other side, right? Otherwise, still the world is not really civilized. The world is still not civilized. Still is a barbaric world where the physical mind still works. Compassion doesn't work. Where the world operates on the basis of compassion, that is a civilized world. Still, we are not. We are yet to reach there. And if you really want to see the world civilized, leaders should be like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Then the world is going to be a civilized world. Till that point, the world is still not civilized. It's barbarism. So therefore, under barbarism, we can't do anything. Either you die, or you live, skillfully and peacefully. The only two choices. The one having grip over you is so powerful. There's no compassion. So powerful. So either you die, you fight, you die. You are too small in number. Others huge, 1 billion, and you are just 6 million. They will just do like this, finish. You die. Or you continue you think of the longer term, not just immediate 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 100 years. You think longer term. Anytime this CCP can break, fall apart. Today, the news is coming. Xi Jinping saying that there's a danger that CCP can fall apart like USSR. This is what he said. Because the number of the people enrolling as a member of the Communist Party, it is now reducing, shrinking. All these things are happening. Because of this, the point is that we have to think of long term, not just immediate. Oh, why, you know, the Tibetans are suffering. And in a way, there are a lot more discussions, which can be very scary for the world, not only for Tibet. Scary for the world is very scary. Because Tibet was not protected, now the neighboring countries are suffering. Because Tibet was not protected. If Tibet was protected, neighboring countries can relax. Tibet will continue to face this CCP. Now Tibet is under CCP, now you are with the CCP. This is a problem. So therefore, the point is that either you die, this is dependent origination, either you die or you think of long term. For the long term, we should be skilled. So knowing the dependent origination, so like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, extremely compassionate, making sure that the Tibetans inside they are protected, Tibetans outside are protected. And that the most important thing is that finally that our culture is very important. So the culture should be preserved. He was doing amazing work. He's doing amazing work, which even the free countries, they cannot do, is what he's doing. So look at the Tibetan people. You don't see any Tibetan people who are left uneducated. This is amazing. And where there's, you know, so it is all because of his compassion. Just imagine he's the leader of the world. He's the leader, the top leader of the world. He's one who, you know, whose instructions everybody is to follow. The world is going to be heaven. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we need him here in our country also.
Okay, so we'll stop with the end prayer. Let us pray that they no doubt the last 7 sessions, with the 7 sessions of teaching on the Rice Sutra Seedling, Śhālistamba Sūtra, or Salujambuddho, no doubt we have accumulated so much of virtues, merits, and these merits will ripen in the form of virtues and benefits and happiness in the future. So let us dedicate these merits for that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the true source of joy and happiness on this earth, that he lives long and that his wishes be fulfilled spontaneously. And also let us dedicate the merits that's gathered, that the great learning centers, of the different traditions of the teachings of Buddha, like the Theravada Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, wherever the teaching of compassion, teaching of universal understanding of dependent origination, thrives. May these centers thrive in the activity of study, reflection, meditation, and then there be harmony in all these centers, and as many can be benefited out of these centers. And let us also dedicate the merits that's gathered, that all these, because of these merits, that all these national disasters will be stopped, and that all the man-made disasters as well will be stopped, and that the people do not have to suffer because of the trauma created by another person, another group of people on you. And let us pray that each one of us, through your own concerted effort, be able to soon see the dawn of the bodhicitta, unconditional love of the Bodhi, most beautiful mind of the unconditional love of bodhicitta, and the most fearless mind of the wisdom of emptiness within yourself, that you will be able to guide as infinite number of beings towards the ultimate happiness for good. May the teaching on the bodhicitta and the most beautiful mind of bodhicitta, may the teaching on the fearless mind of the wisdom of emptiness thrive in the minds of all demon sentient beings. With this mind, let us turn to the end prayer verses. in the land encircled by snow mountains. You are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful generous say Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samadhi too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow the perfect example. I dedicate all these rules of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appeared in 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Chanjo Samjo Rinpoche Magye Panam Ke Gyoroche Kyaba Nyamba Meba Yaha Kone Kondo Pevaraisho. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that there is not arisen, rise and grow, and may that which is arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to despite the miseries of the world. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization that is in the prayers of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of teaching and realization. May I in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the 4 wheels of the Mahayana vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfectly in the 2 stages. May sentient beings again and again make offerings to all the Buddhas, and may they constantly be joyful with the inconceivable bliss of the Buddhas. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. Deyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Dhyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha Dhyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhi Swaha. Okay, thank you, take care, and see you soon somewhere.
Yes.
Thank you, Venerable. And now,
Thank you,
Geshe.
Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
Double
Thank you
light.
so much for your precious
Thank you,
teachings.
Kalachakra.
and
Thank
I
you,
would like to
everyone.
request Anusapila to kindly say a few words on these 4 days teachings.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la, Venerable Geshe-la, for this teaching and so precious teaching. And I hope that everyone and every participant will make it into practice and meditate in it. And in the name of the Kalachakra Center and all the participants, I like to thank you so much, very much. And we hope we can again have the teachings again with you. And we wish you a very, very good health and to be very well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anna Sophie, and thank you all the organizers like the Venerable Elizabeth and the translator, Venerable Jimbala, and all the organizers from the other countries also, from Sweden, from the Switzerland, and from the Italy. Thank you all the organizers and all the participants. Thank you. Take care.